Merry Christmas! For my Secret Santa, I made a thing! An internet thing! It's a Raspberry Pi Model A, and it's got an OLED screen on there, and there's also a little buzzer underneath there, and you can actually pull this part off if you just want to use it as a Raspberry Pi, but I've also included some software. Let's boot it up and see what happens. Now, you said you were into classic video games, and some of your favorites of all time were Metroid, Mega Man, Zelda, etc. So I've pre-configured this Raspberry Pi to boot up to Emulation Station, RetroPie, as it were. And I've preloaded a few ROMs on there, just a bit, and I've also set it up with Kodi, which is a media center, if you're not familiar with it. So let's see, we've got a few games there for the Mega Drive, which is also known as the Genesis. We've got a few games there as well. That's the configuration menu. And we've also got a few games there. Now, when you first get this device, it's not going to be configured for your Wi-Fi network. And speaking of which, what is this screen pre-programmed to do? Let's talk about that for a second. It has the top submissions for your favorite subreddit that you listed, which is games. So it's listing today's headlines, the top 5. And when it's done with that, it's going to tell you what your karma is, the link karma and your comment karma. And if either of those change, it'll give off a little beep. And the software that's running this is written in Python. It's very easy to read and documented. And there's a README file on the desktop that describes how it all works. But it's not the only software that I wrote for this. There's a few special surprises, and if you look at this screen on Christmas and your Kick Day, there should be some special surprises there. Now back to this. So when you first get your Secret Santa gift and you plug it in, make sure you... I'll see if I can't give you this HDMI cable because it's being used for something, but I'll see if I have one and I'll put it in the box for you. You'll come here, you want to go to the RetroPie menu here, configuration. Just press the A button. And on the left, you should get down to Wi-Fi. And then press the A button again. And it's going to go black for a few seconds while it loads the configuration thing in the background. And if it stays black for too long, just press like the down or the up on here. Just the screensaver has a tendency to go to sleep in the background. Alright, so and then you go here and you'd press A to select a Wi-Fi network. As you can see, it's currently connected to my made-up Wi-Fi network right there. So I'm going to go back to Emulation Station. You can always just press the B button to go back, and that works for just about everything. So let's say I wrote some other software for you, so let's press the Start button and quit Emulation Station. Just let's pretend it crashes, because it does do that every once in a great while. What happens? Do I have to go get a keyboard and mouse to start it back up, or perhaps unplug it and plug it back in? No! Because I've written this nice little menu interface that comes up when you quit. Oh, and the login information, by the way, is Pi, and the password is Reddit. And I'll put that in the description. So this is the menu that comes up. And if you exit, you can get to the shell if you really want to do that. So let's launch Emulation Station again. So this is just that menu. I just wanted to point out that you can navigate it. I made it so you can navigate it with the gamepad here. Let's try out a game. One of your favorites that you specifically mentioned. I'll show you a trick here. If you press select, you can jump to a letter. So let's go to M. So that jumped down to M. Let's go to, say, Metroid. Skip Mega Man because I'm terrible at that with one hand. At least Metroid I can move around. I'm going to launch that. There you go! The sound should work as long as you're using HDMI. I did configure it to automatically go to HDMI. And everything should be working. The music works, everything works, it should be nice and smooth. And by the way, getting this to be nice and smooth, I had to overclock it just a little bit. Because it is not a fast computer. Alright, now let's not make this whole thing super long. Let me show you how to get out of any given game. Just press X and select at the same time. And this brings up the Retro Arch menu. And you've got a quick menu here. If you go down to the bottom, you can quit Retro Arch. And there's more detail about that in the README file that's on the desktop. And I'll get to there eventually. Let's go back. Now let's look at Kodi and some of the customizations I've made for you. Oh, you gotta press it twice. So it treats it as a ROM, and I've written a custom script to launch Kodi safely from Emulation Station. So it sort of suspends Emulation Station in the background while it launches Kodi to save memory. It is just a Model A after all. Model A Plus, I should say. And it looks like it's not doing anything, but Kodi does take a little while to start. Just be patient. There we are! And mind you, this is a super cheap computer from 2 years ago, but it's perfectly capable of playing. And look at that! You have 3 favorite movies that you listed in your Reddit Gifts profile. And also Sintel, why not? It's a free movie, free download. It's actually pretty good. Got a little previews here. This is Kodi, it's pretty sweet. Now I'm not going to play those, because I don't want to set off any copyright alarm bells. So I'm going to go back to the main menu. And I want to show you something else. Actually, let's just go to Pictures here. And if we look up here, we've got a Pictures folder. Let's go there for a second. What's this? Reddit Secret Santa Gifts. Now, if you boot into the desktop, this will be your best desktop background. Now, I added this here. It gets generated every hour. It updates itself and regenerates this. These are pictures of all the Secret Santa gifts this year. So, if you got a better Secret Santa, you could have got, you know, that awesome thing, or that awesome thing, or any of these other things, but instead you got this. So, I put that together because it was kind of fun. I thought you might get a kick out of it. You know, you could have had all this cool stuff, but instead you got me. Sorry. So let's go back. Now, I don't want this to be like a full tour, but I did set the weather to your city, which I'm not going to open up. I also added some music, actually. Let's do that. I added some free music archive Christmas songs, which will probably be the background music to this video. And I also added one particular thing that you said was your favorite. You might get a kick out of it. The theme to Ghostbusters. I'm not going to play that. I also added a sweet visualization as the default, and you can enjoy that when you're exploring. I'm not going to go into the settings, but just know that I've pre-configured all of the popular add-on libraries. Those are kind of a pain in the butt to set up, but they're all there, and they still are a pain in the butt to navigate, but at least, you know, the hard part is over. I've installed Exodus, which is this ridiculously good. It's too good at what it does. It lets you watch videos and movies and whatnot over the internet. That's all I will say about it. May not be the most legal thing in some countries. This is kind of fun. If you feel like having your machine is kind of like a background screensaver, you can start some playing trailers. Obviously, I've added the Reddit add-on and a few other ones which I was just using to test. Vimeo, Twitch, and YouTube all work great to stream stuff, even though this is, you know, a very slow computer. They can take a few seconds, probably like 30 seconds to start up YouTube videos, but they do play just fine. And Exodus is not the fastest thing in the world. And the last thing to show you is the desktop. I wrote a script that quits Emulation Station and launches Pixel Desktop from Emulation Station. It's kind of fancy. If you're into shell scripts, you might enjoy it. It's in the Tools directory. In the Home Pi user. And this should launch the Pixel Desktop that comes with Raspbian, the Raspberry Pi distribution. And you'll need a mouse and keyboard to use it. I've got one of these things. It's my only one, so unfortunately I can't send it to you. But it should be plugged in. I hope I turn it on. And I've added, if you wanted a quicker way to add a bunch of Wi-Fi networks, I put a link to the WPA supplicant configuration here. And it should be pretty self-explanatory. You just Google it. It's the same as everywhere else. And here is where my giant README is, discussing all of these things and more. So I highly recommend you do that. Or you could just look at it over SSH. Like I said before, the username is PI, and the password is Reddit. And you're going to want to change that on the first boot. You can also add Wi-Fi up here as well, but I find it's not, it's kind of slow to do it that way. It's much better to do it either from the command line or by editing the wpa-supplicant.conf. And that's pretty much it. You can add whatever software you want. It's a full-blown Raspberry Pi. You can teach yourself how to program. I've installed a whole bunch of Python programming stuff on there. It's all ready to go as far as controlling the GPI opens on the Raspberry Pi. And obviously the screen is hooked up and ready for you to mess with. If you want, you can have it display something else. And if you have any questions, just feel free to send me a message and I'll help you out. And that's pretty much it. And I will be including this controller. I actually got this as my Secret Santa gift last year from Reddit. But I never use it, so I figured, hey, I might as well just give it to someone else. Yeah, it's regifting, but I'm sure they'll appreciate it. It looks just like a classic SNES controller, so it's perfect. So, have a good time. Enjoy your Reddit Secret Santa gift. Merry Christmas.